Hello and welcome to part 3 in building an R2D2. So a quick recap, my goal is to answer the two main questions of how much does it cost to make an R2D2 and how long does it take. Also, it's a challenge to myself of can I build this and have this ready for a comic convention at the end of January in Newark, UK. So if you're interested in following along, just remember, do subscribe, positive comment below, but let's go back a few days. Okay, so there's quite a few parts to print for the legs, but the key main parts is the shoulder, the leg and the ankle. I've just loaded these into Bamboo Studios. Quick important reminder, there's no need for supports with any of this stuff. So if you do click supports, it will put supports down the entire length of these holes, and that's where the metal rods are going to go. So again, no supports needed. It's already got integrated supports like here, of which we cut out, and you'll see that in a moment. Okay, quick word on quality or strength. So I've used 4 walls and 20% infill. Again, time will see if these settings are all right. Hopefully in about a month's time we'll be driving it around at conventions, so we'll know whether it was strong enough. So I've already printed these, so let's go back a few days to see me actually assembling one of the legs. Hello, it's December 26th. I'm going to just spend a few minutes and try and get a bit of work done on the legs. So I've already kind of made a bit of a mistake. I've trial fitted the legs and now I can't get them apart to actually apply the glue. So I shall worry about that in a little while. Over the past few days I have been printing the foot shells, so I've got both left and right sides now done, and I think most of the fixtures and fittings for the ankles are both centre and left and right. But my next task I'm going to do is you need 6 pieces of 6mm threaded rod. So I've already got some metre long pieces that I've got in stock from a previous project. I've already sort of marked them off with a bit of masking tape. Now the right thing to do now would be get a vise, get a hacksaw, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use an angle grinder because it's a little bit quicker, but it needs a bit easier in the arm. Plus I've got no new blades. I've got my goggles on standby because it can be quite dangerous. So I'm going to cut these together and then we'll try and start sliding these legs together. Okay, so that's these cut down. I'm glad I was wearing the goggles because I definitely felt some of the sparks hit me in the face. So one thing I do when I've angle ground a bolt down is I do put a quick test nut on and just make sure that it does actually come on and off. If not, it's time to get the tap and die set out and recut the thread, or get a file and just sort of take the edge off a little bit. But that one seems fine. So one down, a few more to go. Okay, so this one didn't quite work very well, so I just take a file to it, file down the edge a little bit, and now it's gone on just fine. There we go. So that's all of them, all now done, ready for threaded nuts in the legs. Okay, so we'll try and take these apart. Okay, so if you're wondering how the 323 manual method works on this one, because I did the manual 232 on the Mark III, this is a slightly different mechanism, but it's quite straightforward. I've been playing about with it. So you've got the 4 bolts, although I've only got 3 on right now, and all you've got to do is sort of loosen them off a little bit, and then just sort of, there's a slightly reinforced bit, a slightly inset bit, you can just pop that out. Oops. Not really soon to undo it a bit more. Just undo that a bit more. This comes out very slightly, so it comes out a little bit. Then you can just sort of move that down, so you can kind of see it. That then pushes back in. Tighten your nuts up, and your leg's now in the position it should be for in the 3-legged mode. To come back, same thing again. Just loosen them off a little bit. Put that back out. Comes back up. Clicks back in. Tighten it back up, and you're in 2-legged mode. Obviously after that on each side, but should be, and hopefully fairly straightforward and strong. Okay, so the 3 bolts are now in. I've had to tap them through a little bit, but it should be strong enough. Okay, with a bit of brute force, got the threaded bolts in. Whether they'll come back out or not, I don't know. You're supposed to take 2 out to put into the ankles, but I'm going to leave them set for now, and I shall come back to that in a little while. Okay, so that's the legs now. Got the metal bars in, all the glue's all set. I've got the ankle, more on that in a little while. You can at this point just do a test fit if you're feeling brave. There we go, that's now in. You should glue the ankle in, but I'm not going to for a while because I do want to spray paint all this. I want to attach some of the other greeblers and things, but I'm fairly confident with the threaded rod it'll be strong enough for just some test runs around the house. Now it does require 2 square nuts to go into this side. So in a moment I'm going to take the bars back out, put the 2 outer ones in, fasten them into the square nuts, and then the centre bar, again that's just going to slide out. You put a square nut in this side, this bit, for that to attach in. So the centre bar is attached at the top end, and the 2 outer ones are attached in the lower part of the ankle. And then some more nuts go on the top to hold it all in place. Okay, so I'm on the left leg. It says so, it's got the L's on it. I'm just going to take out these 2 bars. Just going to slide them in. You can see this sort of go all the way through. What I'm going to do is just put a square nut in. The square nut drops down, and then wind them in. I'm just tightening enough so I can just see enough at the top so I can put the top nut on. I think that should be alright. Okay, so I'll now the second side. Okay, so I'm basically just winding it back so I can just see enough thread at the top to know I can get a nut on. Okay, the same with the top side. So again, I can put a square nut inside it. Can't pull it out anymore. I'm just making sure I don't screw all the way up and through. Okay, that's probably all right. So again, you could glue it in now. I've not got the actual curved section. I've not got the bracelet on yet. I just want to get enough together so I can test the motor drives out over the next day or so. Okay, so there's one leg mostly together. Just need to put some nuts on the top. Don't think I've quite left enough thread just there. Might have to go back and unscrew it a little bit. Okay, so I've just put two sort of finger tight nuts on the top. There's just one more underneath on that little section, just making sure it feels flush so it won't be in the way later. Okay, so it's now time to move over to the outer drives. Nothing fancy or difficult about these, simply put them on the beds and press print. Again, I've gone with the same as the legs. I've got 4 outer walls, 20% infill. I've printed them as they've loaded in, so I've not rotated, no supports. I have cloned this because you need 2 of these. They're just for the bearings to go around the Omni wheels. This is by far the simplest of the gearbox mechanisms that I've ever made for a Michael Baddeley's droid. So these are much simpler because they're relying on now the hub motors. Okay, so now I've already made one of them up because I want to see how it went together without the stress of having the camera pointing at me. And I'm glad I did. There was a couple of little issues, but not with the design, but with my choice of bolts. But I shall take you through that as we go along. Okay, so I've got everything lined up. I've got sort of the back plates, the top plates, the bearings, the Omni wheel inserts, the nuts and bolts, the Sauber thing I think it's pronounced, and the various nuts and bolts that I think I need. Okay, before I go any further, I did have a little problem, which you can see. I'll probably do a close-up photo where I've not been able to get this countersunk all the way through, and I can't get it out either. And I left this one, so that's slightly proud, which is a slightly different head. So basically, I bought a bunch of the 40mm length countersunk bolts, which I think you can see. Unfortunately, when I put the Allen key in, it's physically rounding them off, and that's what's happened with that one. It's rounded off, and now it's stuck in or out. So if it fouls the skin, I'll just take a Dremel and just sew it off, because the other option was reprinting it. So what I had to do for the others is I use a much stronger head, a slightly better one that's proud of it, to actually cut the thread and then take it back out and put the next one in. Now Michael says about using electric screwdriver for this. Unfortunately, I don't have the right attachment, so it's just going to be tediously using my tools, and it's going to take probably about half an hour. So yesterday I did this sort of sat while watching a movie. Okay, so let's take the motor. Now I want the wiring to be on the inside, and we know the motor is going this way because the motor goes at the front. So that's how I know to go that side. So I'm just going to undo do the bolt. I mean, I could fasten this on without the motor. In fact, it might be easier. But that's going to go in with a washer and that bit down, so it actually fits into that little slot, so it locks it in. So make sure we're locked in, so now I can just put the screw on. And that should then, is that the right way, or have I just messed that up already? No, that's fine. And I can do the same on the other side. Oops. Oh, I've got the cable tie snagged, so I'm just going to undo. I'm just putting that all the way on. Again, I'm just making sure that the little notch is just coming in, and then I can just tighten that down a bit again. So I just want to make sure everything sort of lines up. It's not quite, not sure why, what's going on there. No, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so the tedious task now, but again the joy of movies is I will fast forward all this section. The thing is with this design is you can just undo these and drop the whole motor out anyway, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Certainly a lot easier than building a full gearbox. Okay, so I'm going to take my one with a slightly larger Allen key head, or hex drive, whatever you want to call it, and then slowly wind the whole thing up. Oops, it's pushing it away, so I'm just going to take that back out. Try again, I think I just missed. Okay, so that's the first one in, but like I said, this is a button head, so it's actually slightly proud of the surface. I think it'd be fine because of the way that bolt is, but I'm now going to just leave that one in place while I do the others. Okay, as we like to say in our house, one. So I'll stop recording there, I'll do the others and back in a moment. Okay, I'm not sure how long that's just taken, but I've got one side on, far too long. More of the story is, buy better bolts. So I shall now repeat the same for the other half. Again, I'll just stop the video there, I'll come back when I've finished. Okay, so that's the other side now fastened together. Managed to speed up her way a little bit. I'm not going to share how just in case it's damaging. Okay, so next bit is I need the Omni wheel. Now you can put nuts and bolts through this to hold this together, but it'll basically be held together anyway once the nut and bolt goes through. So I'm just popping the bearings in. Grabbing the M8. This is an M8 by 100mm. Just making sure. And again, just finger tight for the moment. Yeah, because I'm going to need to get a socket and span on both sides, but so just finger tight for the moment. Now we'll see, there's, I think you can see, although maybe black wasn't the best idea for this, this is where the little hemisphere sort of sits in that little insert, with the tip of it goes into this circle just there. Okay, so now let's fasten this all together. Again, noticing this is forward, as in front, R for right hand side. We know the wheels go towards the front, so I'm just going to slide the bolt through. Oops, that's what I was checking the other one. This is actually solid at the moment, so I'm just going to punch a hole through that. So I'm just making sure the bolt sort of goes through. Seems to be fine. Again, I'm just double checking the markers, make sure I've not messed it up. There we go. So I'm just checking down the hole, see I'm checking for the alignment. There we go, and we are not quite again. There we go, we are now in with the reset. Now I should be able to just, again, won't finger tight. I'll probably replace this with a locking nut later. Okay, side one. Again, clearing that hole. I'll clear it out a bit more, I think. Okay, so the next bit is to get the little hemispheres in. So I'm just going to just squeeze that in. Okay, that's fine. And the next one, I'm just going to squeeze that in. These can fit in a shock absorber in a car. Okay, so there's our suspension. So the next bit is these would now fit on, just sort of clip in and then lock down with the bolt, but I'll wait till we're about to fit these to the actual legs. Okay. Now I was hoping to also build the centre foot, but I don't seem to have printed enough of the bearing inserts, so I have to stop for now, print those and then continue on the next session. Okay, so I'm going to stop that there for today on the actual build, because I want to get this video edited and released. So where are we up to with sort of the budget and the resources? So first of all, you can see I've printed out the foot shells. I've got most of the greeblies done, I've got the doors done, I've got a lot of the leg boosters done. There's still a few odds and ends, and I've got about 2.5 rolls of filament from the original 20 rolls that I bought left. Now, I did make a mistake. I printed an extra foot shell that I didn't need to. I also printed the wrong ankles. I thought you had to print the long ones if you wanted to go from 3 to 2 to 3. But that's only if you're doing it through motors. If you're doing it manually, you can just get away with shorts. So I decided to sort of cut my loss at that point and reprinted the short ankles. I also printed an extra drive base, which I didn't need, so I've got 2 left feet now. So again, what you really need is a good checklist to keep track of what you are printing. I've obviously been rushing, so I'm trying to keep the printer going almost 24/7, again to try and help bring this build in on time. Now, it's a little ironic that I don't have a checklist because I was heavily involved with the development of this software for keeping track of just such things, but maybe we'll have to revisit this at some point in the near future. Okay, so first bit, time. Obviously we know I started on the 1st of December with the first print. We're now on the 29th of December, so let's just say that's 28 days. I could have printed a bit more, a bit quicker, and I do have most of it printed, I think. The build, obviously it's been Christmas, so it's not had my full attention, and I do have a full-time job, so everything's going around it. I could have easily had way more built was I not trying to record it, but it does take time to set cameras up and tidy up enough, and yes, this is my idea of tidy. Gets messy a lot quicker. So obviously this is the bigger question, is the budget. So where are we up to now? So I'm only trying to include the price of the things that you've seen. I do have, I think, most of it now in stock. So first of all, we've got the Omni wheels themselves. So I'm using Vex wheels, although I do believe there's now another brand out there to replace them because Vex are quite hard to get hold of, but they are a very similar price tag. The motors, these have come from AliExpress. So they're about £120 for the pair, depending on postage. The hemispheres, I do believe people are trying to make these out of TPU. I've not had any feedback yet of the success of those, but that's the price now. So we can see this is where it does kind of get expensive, it's where the price starts to build up real quick. Also, I got quite a lot of hardware. And by hardware, I mean the ironmongery, the nuts and bolts. And this is where it can also add up. There can be cheaper options. I've been having to source them from either Amazon, eBay, or Screwfix, or other local hardware shops. So the metal threaded rod was a £5, and then I've got these various nuts and bolts. Now, a lot of these is going to be a lot of surplus, but I'm just saying this is how much it's cost me right now to get this up and running. I will have spares, and they will come into handy with future droids. So we are now looking at £455 to have basically got the parts that you've seen so far. We've still got things like the speed controllers to go, batteries, more wiring to actually get it up and running. So so my plan was to actually have these feet built today and attached to the droid, so I could put it on the floor and we could see it sort of at least being freewheeled. But I just don't have the floor space for right now, and also I think it would be wise for me to actually start with the wiring and actually getting it working on the RC before I attach them to the legs itself, so they can be sat on the bench. So that's what's going to be coming up in the next video, which again I hope will be out in the next few days, because I'm going to try and print off the extra bits now, and then tomorrow look at actually doing some of the wiring and see if we can get somewhere with that. Okay, so again, if you've liked this video, please remember to subscribe. Positive comment below is always nice, and click the notification bell so you'll see when the next video is available to watch. And I'll see you in the next one.